Up with you starting right now on this New Year's Eve day, the final show of 2025. We have a few tricks up our sleeve. We got J-Mac and Kmart and Schrager here with us this morning. Tons of NFL conversation, but obviously it begins with tonight, the college football playoff. Jordan Rodgers is in New Orleans. Joey Galloway is in LA. Josh Pate will join us in a few minutes, and let's dive deep. We start with tonight, 7:30 Eastern, the CFP quarters kicking off with Miami and Ohio State in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. Jordan, you're going to give us first impressions. What are you watching most closely in this game?
Well, it's Carson Beck and his decision-making. In their losses, he's turned the football over 6 times, but over the last 5 games, he's got 12 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's completing 78% of his throws. When they are better on first and second down, not explosive, just better, they're in better situations on third down. In their wins, they average 6 yards to go on third down. In their losses, over 7.5. So if Beck can just protect the football, let his run game get going, let that defense take over, that's the version of Carson Beck I trust in this game.
And Joey, Carson Beck is a name that we've been hearing and a player that we've been seeing for a long time on a lot of big stages. What are your expectations for him tonight in, I guess, what amounts to the biggest game of his career?
100 yards against Texas A&M. He didn't turn it over. Jordan Rodgers, absolutely right. If he can protect the football, then they're a much better football team when they can run it. I don't know if they can do that same thing against the Ohio State Buckeyes, but he has to make some plays over the middle. Again, when you looked at the Texas A&M game, now it was windy outside, but he was afraid to make plays over the middle. Everything was to the outside. He was playing it safe, trying not to turn the ball over. He accomplished that, but he's not going to be able to beat Ohio State throwing for 100 yards in this game. He's going to have to take some chances. He's going to have to make some plays. They're a much better football team when Carson Beck makes big plays from the pocket. They need that to beat Ohio State.
We'll see if he will. And look, I host the draft, so I've been already polishing up on this. It feels like half the roster of Ohio State is going to get drafted in the first round, and we'll have Field Yates a little bit later this morning. But we're talking about a lot of first-rounders in this game, 2 of them from the Miami side of things. The offensive tackle is spectacular, and Ruben Bain is spectacular. But look, the offense and the defense for Ohio State just completely loaded. If one were to say, I've got a lot of people I feel like are on the Miami side of this thing, Jordan, but clearly, man for man on the field, Ohio State has the better team, no?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think top to bottom, they have the better roster. Now, Miami has a few guys like those that you saw and a guy like Malachi Toney on the outside that can absolutely compete. But to Joey's point, yeah, the numbers against A&M were not very good for Carson Beck. They don't wow you. He needs to make 4 or 5 throws a game because he can manage this. That defense, Akeem Mesidor and Ruben Bain, who you saw right there, they can take this over or at least keep it close. If Beck starts to push and press too much, that's when they get in trouble. So get the ball to playmakers quickly, protect the football, and at least you have a chance here against against Ohio State, who does have the better players, like you said.
You see the Buckeyes almost a double-digit favorite. That's the game tonight. I want to jump to the game, Joe, where you will be. Let's do the Rose Bowl here. Ellens, what are you watching for in the Rose Bowl?
Well, it's pressure on Mendoza. Mendoza is elite when he has a clean pocket. He's number 1 in QBR in the country. When he's pressured, he's 77th. Now, against Ohio State, he made some great plays with his legs, actually extended the plays, had 6 completions outside the pocket, but he is average when he's under pressure. So can Alabama, who's getting healthier, LT Overton's going to be back, and Keontae Paris, wow, I just messed that up. They're getting healthier up front. They're pressuring the quarterback better. If they can do that, they can make Mendoza not look like the Heisman Trophy Superman that we've seen all season.
How about Mendoza in this game, Joey? What are you looking for?
Just can he make some plays down the field? I think, Mendoza is a guy that we've seen tested. We've seen him put in situations where he's had to make plays for them at end of games. Against Penn State, he had to make a play at the end of the game. The 3rd and 6th throw down the sideline against Ohio State late in the 4th quarter was amazing. So he has to just continue to do what he's done. I don't think that Mendoza is the concern here. If I'm looking at this game, it's Ty Simpson on the other side. Ty Simpson hasn't looked comfortable. I would say maybe in the last month. He just hasn't looked comfortable. We keep saying that Alabama needs to run the football. I just don't think that's in their DNA. They have to throw the football, and teams know that. They come after Ty Simpson. They put him in situations and make him look uncomfortable. I think for Alabama, Ty Simpson is the key if they have a chance to win this game.
Joey, you're there, and so you're obviously absorbing what some of the fans and what the atmosphere is like. To see Alabama as an underdog and a fairly significant one, whether it's against this Indiana team or anybody, is a very different role for them. What feel are you getting from the team, from the players, and even from the fans who were there to see the Alabama game tomorrow night?
Went out to eat last night, and Indiana fans everywhere. I think they're just excited to have this opportunity, excited to be here. And I'm not saying that Alabama isn't, but I'm saying Alabama's more used to this. I've been here for a couple days now, and the Indiana fans have been here before I got here. And the game is tomorrow. So I just think from the Indiana side, every step they take is a new step to them, and they're really excited to be here, really excited to have this opportunity. And I just haven't seen the Alabama fans. I'm not saying they're not going to be here. What I'm saying is I just haven't seen them yet.
Yeah, how about the Alabama side of this game, Jordan?
I agree with Joey. This is all on Ty Simpson, and he hasn't looked great over the past month. Really, he hasn't looked comfortable because of the protection. I think they are healthier. They're healthier on both sides of the football. But the problem is they put so much pressure on Ty Simpson to make big-time plays, to make decisions pre-snap. And honestly, I don't feel any better about this Alabama team after the win last week over Oklahoma than I did after getting drubbed by Georgia, because it was kind of a fluke game. They had a defensive touchdown, special teams showed up, field position played big in that. The offense didn't look great. Jam Miller will be healthier. Josh Cuevas will be healthier. But there's just so much on Ty to be perfect. And I just don't see him being perfect against this Indiana team. I think they need a lot to go their way like they saw against Oklahoma.
All right, next game. Jordan, you are there in New Orleans. You will see the Sugar Bowl appropriately. A couple of SEC teams, Ole Miss and Georgia. What are you watching most closely for?
I think it's Trinidad Chambliss in a massive moment, and he needs some help. Kejuan Lacey was kind of absent in this game against Georgia the first time around, had 12 rushes, just 31 yards. Chambliss is a guy that can absolutely take over this game. They have so many weapons on the outside. That's what they're going to need. They're going to need to go blow for blow, and he disappeared in the fourth quarter. He was bad in the fourth quarter, bounced a few footballs, and that allowed Georgia to make that 17-point comeback in the fourth quarter when they dominated or controlled the football game. Trinidad has to have his best game, and really, when you watch the tape from the first matchup, with his legs against the blitz was kind of the difference maker. So his athleticism will be an X factor to watch.
Joey, obviously one of the enormous storylines here is Ole Miss, led to this point by Lane Kiffin, who then leaves and goes to LSU, and now they're playing, in his absence and trying to prove that they are the team that deserve to be there despite the coach situation. How does that, if in any way, do you think, factor into how this game goes?
I said before last week, there couldn't have been a team more excited to get back on the football field than Ole Miss. Just to put all of that talk behind them and get back to playing some football. And they did that, and they played well. I don't know, when you look at this Georgia team, look at the Georgia defense, that's what they got to deal with. I don't know that there's a defense out there that has looked better toward the end of the season than Georgia with their pressures and the way they made Alabama look in the SEC championship game. That's what Chambliss is going to have to deal with. That's what Ole Miss and its offense is going to have to deal with. You have to find ways to, number one, handle the pressure. If a team brings pressure and you know what you're doing with the football and you can hurt them in those moments, they stop bringing pressure. You have to make those kind of plays. And you got to play 4 quarters. They sort of fell apart in the second half, like Jordan just mentioned. And then on the other side, Gunnar Stockton went 12 for 12 in the second half. So you have to keep your game going for 4 quarters if you're going to knock off a team like Georgia.
And then one more. Let's go to the Orange Bowl, Oregon and Texas Tech. Once again, Jordan, first impression, what are you watching most closely in this game?
Well, I think it's the weapons for Oregon, because I do believe that this Texas Tech defense is really good on paper. I do believe there's some fraudulent numbers, though, because I don't think they've played a talented football team with the type of NFL talent that they're going to see in Oregon. I don't think they've played an offensive line that is as big and physical as Oregon's that can run the football. So although this run defense is the best in the country, according to the paper for Texas Tech, I think Oregon has a ton of talent that Texas Tech has not seen. They have not been tested in this manner, and I think you're going to see Dante Moore in this run game actually surprise some people that think Texas Tech is kind of dominant on that side of the ball, and I don't believe that's the case.
Well, we're going to find it out. Dante Moore is a player who, Joey, could play his way in tonight, or tomorrow, I should say, and then maybe over the next couple of weeks into being the first pick in the draft. What is your expectation for him against what has been, as Jordan says, at least by the numbers, an outstanding defense this year?
This is why I love this time of year, because we know from what we've seen in Texas Tech, like Jordan said, they're a pretty good defense, but who have we seen them play? But we've had the same conversation about Oregon during the season. We've seen them tested only against Indiana at home, and they lost that football game. These are those times when you get to really find out, okay, we see what it is on paper. We've heard Dante Moore may be a first-round draft pick. He might be the #1 overall pick. Now we get to see maybe he go against what we've seen as maybe the best defense that he's faced up to this point in the season. They lead FBS in takeaways. Takeaways, key to football games, especially the big football games like this one's going to be. I'm looking forward to see that matchup. Dante Moore, from what I've heard, could be #1. Texas Tech, from what I've heard, could be the best defense in the country. So this is going to be fun to find out.